Good afternoon, and this is week 5 of Social Work 633. Week 5 covers 2 psychodynamic approaches to working with families. One is contextual therapy, and the other is emotion-focused couple therapy. So, as always, let's start with our introduction for this week. So we're going to be looking at contextual family therapy, which involves systemic aspects as family loyalty, family legacy, and the family ledger. We're also going to be looking at EFCT, emotionally focused couple therapy, and object relations family therapy. And the learning objectives for this week are as follows: to describe some key concepts of contextual family therapy, CFT, and emotionally focused therapy, EFT, or object relations therapy, ORT, and look at the interventions in contextual family therapy and emotionally focused couples therapy. Summary of the activities, and there are a number of them for this week, are as follows. So let's look at the learning resources. The required readings are the following: an article called Ethical Discourse in Families, an article by Hibbs, and you'll be looking at some videos done by Hibbs. This article is the context of growth, relational ethics between parents and children, and also the practice of emotionally focused couples therapy. And then you're to choose one of the following, and you're encouraged to download the rest of the articles for your future reading. So there is a resource on contextual family therapy. It's a PDF. So you have a handout that will help you in your family theory grid that you have 2 columns to complete this week. So this talks about contextual family therapy and lays out in detail the concepts and components of that therapeutic approach. And then there are 2 websites. One that looks at contextual family therapy and one that looks at emotionally focused therapy. Your media for this week, you have to look at a video on emotionally focused couples therapy by Sue Johnson. And this is looking at a family on the brink of divorce. And then a podcast where you will be listening to Dr. Janet Hibbs. You are required to look at the first 18 minutes, but you can look at the much longer video as you wish, and I would encourage you to do so. There are a number of learning activities for this week. So the first is this activity informed reviews how to create a genogram based on a problematic episode from a present or past clinical case. So you need to look at these resources and then create a genogram based on that past case. And then for your initial post, complete all of the parts, upload the genogram as an attachment to your initial post, write a short assessment of your family, including the hypothesis about the problem and any relevant life cycle and socio-cultural issues and family strengths, and then to describe any issues that you encountered while creating this genogram. Your initial post is due Thursday with a follow-up by Friday. If, in fact, you cannot think of a client situation, and of course you're not including identifying information, think of some scenario that you've encountered either with family or some other experience, or the last alternative is to make up a client situation and explain it this way. So the preference is to do this based on the client that you have experienced, but you can also use the other two alternatives. If you have a question, please email me. The next is around EFT, Emotional Family Therapy. Identify and discuss how three of the basic tenets of attachment theory in the Johnson article are applicable to EFT family therapy. Describe the significance of attachment theory, and then describe how Johnson reframed the client's problem into a cycle reflecting attachment needs. So this is one where you only have to do an initial post. You can respond to others, but you're not required to do so. There is a third discussion. So for your initial post, you're going to look at your resource on contextual family therapy. And after looking at the podcast, describe one of the ideas Hibbs discussed in the podcast that you believe will be helpful with your work and with future clients. Describe a situation with a past client where a loyalty conflict may have occurred, and how could you have addressed it. And if you think of an actual past client, if you can't think of a past client, come up with a mock client situation, and then describe a situation with a past client where issues related to destructive or low entitlement may have occurred. This is one where you're doing an initial post. You're encouraged to respond to your peers, but you do not have to do so. Next, you are doing your weekly family therapy theory grid, and you have 2 columns to complete this week. So remember, it's not 1 column, it's 2. And you're doing it on psychodynamic contextual theory and then psychodynamic EFT. So this week is on psychodynamic theories. And those are your written assignments for this week. You also have the opportunity to complete a self-care activity. So as always, you are encouraged to complete that self-care activity. Then at Hahnemann, and I believe that institute is now at Drexel University. So EFT is, to say what it is briefly, EFT therapists emphasize the ways in which generations are inherently bound to each other, while also considering intrapsychic and interpersonal elements. The belief is that people cannot be removed from their generational rootedness. So they bring invisible loyalties that extend across generations, even when they start new families. So the goal in working with couples is to establish fairness. Fairness is one of those unique aspects of contextual therapy, that goals are achieved when the ledger per se is balanced, that there is equitability. And so where relationships are often not in fairness, that they're not balanced because of indebtedness and entitlements, this therapy asks us to base relationships on a sense of mutual responsibility. Concepts like mutual responsibility and justice appear when we are talking about contextual family therapy. As I mentioned before, EFT, emotionally focused therapy, is based in attachment theory, and that is the theory espoused by Bowlby. But EFT is a short-term brief treatment approach. It is different from object relations family interventions, which are longer-term psychodynamic approaches based in Freudian theory. EFT is based on in 3 stages, as you will see in the Johnson article. In the first stage, the cycle of de-escalation, the couples develop an understanding of the negative interaction cycle that drives distress in their relationship. The second stage is restructuring interactions. This involves the shaping of new core emotional experiences and new interactions that lead to more secure connection. And then the third stage of ESP is consolidation, which involves helping couples use their more secure attachment bond and improve relationship functioning to solve problems in their everyday lives and create a story of resilience and mastery in their relationships. EFT and contextual therapy both help couples establish a safe place so that they can practice new relationships and build stronger bonds within the family. So, establishing a safe place is part of both therapeutic interventions. So, with that, as always, if there are any questions for this week's assignment, please email me as quickly as possible. I would also say if there is an assignment that you have not yet submitted, this would be the time to get those assignments in, knowing that there will be points taken off for late submission, but better late than not submitting at all. So I look forward to reading your post and your family therapy theory grid for this week. And if there are any questions, please let me know. Have a wonderful week.